Hello, hello everyone. How are you? I had to unmute there for a moment. Yikes. How are you? Happy March. I hope that you're all doing really super well. It is Tuesday, March 7th here in the Pacific Northwest. My name is Rachel. I'm coming to you from just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. And I hope that everybody's doing really well. We've got a full chat this morning. You guys are already totally up and at 'em. Martha, very insightful, was asking about daylight savings time and when we are starting here in North America. So for us here in North America, we go on to daylight savings, onto Pacific Daylight Time, onto daylight savings time on Sunday, March 12th at 2 a.m. So the next show we will be off with the UK and Europe. And I always make a note in the show notes because people who have been really like on it with time zones because either they're expats living out of their countries or they have family that they regularly talk to that are in different areas. They have over the years sort of always made me aware of like the time changes, and I never really paid attention before, but I was never in a situation where I was talking to an international community before. So, funny how that happens. So yes, I always make a note of just to make sure that everybody knows that, we shift around and slide around each other for a couple of weeks there. So yeah. So next show will be off. So just make a note of that, pay attention, and I will make a note in the show notes. Thank you, Diane. She says, you look extra sparkly this morning. I don't know why. I don't feel particularly sparkly, but I really appreciate it. So thank you, Diane. That's very kind. I hope that everybody's doing well. March is a very big month for us because spring break starts on Monday. So the kids are off for 2 weeks. They've got a couple of soccer camps that they're going to, and Rebecca's coming. We've got Fibers West. I am teaching. My class is full, which is really exciting. I'm going to go through all my teaching stuff and everything next week because I had it all prepped and ready to go 3 years ago, and then everything got canceled. So I'm just going to pull it all out, have a look at everything. Katrina connected with me yesterday. We have ordered books for Fibers West so that she'll have them on hand. So if you do purchase one of our books unbraided from Katrina from her booth at Fibers West, just if you see me, come and grab me. I will sign it for you. Katrina will do the same. So just putting that little nugget in anybody's head. If you see me at the show or if you're in my class or anything, I will sign it. So please don't hesitate to ask. Don't ever hesitate to come up and say hello. I'll remind everybody next show as well because we've got one more show before Fibers West and then Rebecca will be here. So that'd be really great. Her and I are going to try to record a little something while she's here so that I can put that into the show for April because she actually won't be here for April's live stream. So unfortunately she won't be able to sit with me like she did last time. We did a live stream together, but we'll figure that out. So all right. I have a few things that I need to mention that didn't get mentioned last time. I wasn't quite ready to mention last time. We have decided on our next book for book club, and I wanted to mention the giveaway that I talked about on last show, the Sweet Georgia giveaway. Lisa very kindly posted a photo in the Slack channel of what is in this beautiful little box because I didn't want to open it all up because it's beautifully packaged. But it is a double kit. I don't know if I mentioned that. It is a double kit of this silk kit that goes with my brand new workshop that is available on the School of Sweet Georgia. So this is a double kit. It's a double serving, 2 servings of the silk that goes with the workshop, and that is what I am giving away this month. So I was going to give it away today. I had opened up the survey last time. I wanted you guys to tell me what you find the most valuable in and what's your favorite part of woolen spinning, and then just leave me a way to contact you. And there was a total snafu yesterday with SurveyMonkey. I almost lost the entire survey and all of your responses. Thank goodness I didn't. But instead of trying to fiddle with it this morning and get it all working, I was like, I am going to let this go for today's show, and I will give it away next show. So you have 2 more weeks to enter. So I will cut it off and I will close the survey on Sunday, March 19th of 2023, for anybody watching this in the future. And the next live stream will be on Tuesday, March 21st, and I will give this away then. So you've got a little bit longer to enter that giveaway. The link is in the down bar below the link for the show notes. So it is right there. I don't know if I still have it saved. I do. It's now in the live chat as well. So thank you to Lisa for posting a photo of what the kit looks like inside. And I hope you guys win. I wish I could give it to all of you. I wish I could just send it out into the world and everybody could have it. Madison, welcome. She says hello from New York City. Finally catching a live stream live. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. So Lazy Kate Textiles is coming from Liverpool. Lisa, who I just mentioned, is from Iowa. Dorothy wants me to choose her. I will try, Dorothy. I'll put some mojo into the random number generator when I do it. The second thing that I wanted to mention was this beautiful book right here. It is by Kate Grenville. It is an Australian piece of fiction, and I won't go into reading it on the back. You can look at the synopsis of the book. Again, it is linked in the show notes. The show notes are linked in the down bar below. It will take you to Patreon, to a public post that you can cruise through all of the links and everything that I talk about. You do not need to be a patron to look at the show notes. The show notes are always for everyone. Anyhow, this book by Kate Grenville will be our next pick for book club. Book club will be starting on March, I think it's the 13th. Yes, it will start on March 13th at 12 noon Pacific. You can access book club through the Slack channel. Becca runs it. I don't think Becca is here today. We wanted to choose, so we generally, for those who are new to the community and maybe aren't aware, I'll just give you a little bit of background. Book club started right as the pandemic kind of ramped up, and it was a way for us to connect. A lot of people were reading some of the same stuff at that time, and Becca had offered to run it. It was kind of a grassroots movement within the woolen spinning community, and she sort of took the helm. She does have a PhD in literature, so she was a very overqualified person to do this. And she loves literature. She loves reading. She's an amazing facilitator. And we started off and we read all of the Jane Austen novels, which was really fun because I hadn't read quite a few of them for many, many years. So it was kind of fun to come back and reread them. And then from there, we started getting into some different stuff. And what we've found works really well is to do one book at a time, and we go fiction, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction, and they often do have something to do with the textiles industry in some way, shape, or form. So we just finished Consumed by Aja Barber, and you can, I don't know if the most recent recording is still available of our last book club meeting that was like the summation of sort of the book. We were finishing it off. And then this will be our next book. And we wanted to do something that was a little bit different, that wasn't from a North American perspective. We wanted to do something that was from somewhere else with a different perspective. And so this was thrown out as an idea, and we decided to jump on it. So this is our next book, and that will start next week. I'm not actually sure. I don't know, Amanda, you're here, but I'm not sure how much we're reading. I should probably start reading. I'm a fast reader, so thankfully I'll get through it quickly. But this is our next book. So I hope that you will consider finding it at your library, jumping in with us. And yeah, Amanda doesn't know either. It's probably the first couple of chapters, just so that we can kind of get going with it. So I hope that you will consider jumping in with that. And that is through the Slack channel. It is a closed group in the sense that you do have to be a patron. Part of that is because we do get into some quite nuanced topics and some you know, a lot of deep discussions about things, and people share things. And I think it's important to protect the sanctity of the group, but also just the fact that people need to be able to share, and that it needs to be a safe place. It needs to be a space that people feel comfortable, and it needs to be a place that people feel welcome. And so I hope that that's what we've been able to create. And when you join the Slack channel, you just have to find the channel #books, and everything for book club is in there. You do not have to participate in book club to be a part of that channel, because often people are constantly posting books in there that they're just excited about, that they're reading. I just finished Anthony Dower's book, All the Light We Cannot See. I highly recommend it. I could not put it down. I've read like 5 books since last episode. I don't know why. I'm just firing through books right now. Anyways, it was amazing. It's sad. It's heart-wrenching, but it is just a beautifully written book. You feel like you're reading, I was going to say an opera, but it's not really an opera. You feel like you're reading this just intensely beautiful piece of literature. Anyways, highly, highly recommend. We do have a couple of things that are up and coming before I run the intro credits. So this month for March, Woolen Spinning Radio is now out. It is available for everybody. It is released where you get all of your podcasts, your audio podcasts. It is there. Stitcher, Google Play, Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, all the places. So just search Woolen Spinning Radio, it will come up. And this month for March, me and Rebecca sat down with Tashiana, which is one of our really active members in our community for woolen spinning. And she also hosts Stitches and Starlight on YouTube. She's just a powerhouse of energy and positivity. She's doing amazing things, and it was a pleasure to have her on the show. So we are going to follow up with a part 2 because we only got halfway through what I wanted to ask her about. So we'll follow up with a part 2 in the spring. The other thing that is coming up this week is spinning pearls for patrons of the community. I slowed down a little bit. I felt like our year of color was just getting like completely out of control, and just based on the questions that we had last episode and all the things that we were talking about, I just thought, you know what, let's just slow down. The whole point of our year of color is to be nimble, is to just slow down, to really be thoughtful about what we're doing, to think about the things that we're working with. So in Spinning Pearls this week, this month, it's a lot of theory. I go through a bunch of the color definitions. So when we say triadic, what do we mean? When we talk about, complements, what are we talking about? And then I introduce the color contrasts as defined by Johannes Itten. And then we get into the first one, which is contrast of hue. It's a very quick introduction of contrast of hue. It's the simplest of all the contrasts. So it went really well with this other theory this month. And so that is coming out, I think on Thursday. And the PDF will be available later this month with all the transcripts. And the second part will be available later this month for everyone. That will premiere the last Tuesday of the month. The Wool Circle was yesterday. It streamed yesterday for Wool Circle members, and Rebecca shared how she spun her color wheel. It was a lot of fun. It's a very quiet episode, really thoughtful episode, and there's a montage at the end of her spinning through the color wheel that is just awesome. It makes my heart sing every time. It was epic, and to use words that were used in the live chat at the time yesterday. So that was really wonderful. And all of those are linked in the show notes. And Ketchup and Pickles will be coming out later this month, so that you guys can just direct click through everything. So once that post comes up, everything is there and you can work your way through what you want. It's been really helpful recently. Several people have joined and they've been going back to old content because there's certain things that they wanted to learn and certain things that they were looking for. And they've been able to find a couple of links that weren't working anymore. There was a couple of PDFs that needed to be re-uploaded, and that was really, really helpful to fix some of that stuff. So if you're a new member and you're clicking through old stuff and you're not finding that it's necessarily working, just send me a comment on the post. I will see it and I will be able to help you out. And if I'm not sure what you're asking about, I'll just ask you. So no harm, no foul. Coming up later this month on the Wool Circle is the color wheel, the community version. So, and make a note of the application of theory spinning pearls that comes out on the last Tuesday of the month, and that will be a premiere, and everybody will be invited to that. So please make a note of that and come to that. The Wool Circle, later this month, Rebecca is doing a huge montage of all of the color wheels that you guys have been working through on your own. So she's kind of mentioned it in the Wool Circle channel on Slack. She mentioned it yesterday in the live stream on the Wool Circle. She put it in the chat. But just in case anybody's missed it, post in any place that you feel comfortable. Ravelry, the Slack channel, those are kind of the two places. Anywhere on the Slack channel, she will check all the places. But your color wheel spinning that you've been working on, it does not have to be finished. Post it so that she can grab it by Friday. So that's this week by Friday, March 10th, which happens to be my brother's birthday. Please make sure that you post your updates on your color wheels. They don't have to be spun color wheels either. Like you can do, like if you've been painting your color wheel and you're kind of pre-contemplative about getting into spinning your color wheel, that's okay too. But make sure you get it all posted, and then you can, you can see your work on the Wool Circle if you want to join that. So much fun. Lisa says, I've always assumed book club is a closed group. It's not. It is come and go as you please. You just do need to be on the Slack channel. It's closed in the sense that you have to be a patron of wool and spinning, and you have to be on the Slack channel at the very least, because, and that's how we keep it a safe space. So yeah. Yes, you're welcome, Rebecca. Anything to kind of get the word out, because I think sometimes with the Wool Circle, because it's not the live stream, sometimes stuff gets missed. And so I just want to make sure that we're highlighting that there is in fact a second show, there is in fact a second live stream, and the Wool Circle is that live stream, and it's important to highlight people's work there as well. So that is super fun. All right, I think that is it for all of my housekeeping that I had to inform you guys about. I know it's kind of a lot, but thank you for sticking with me as I went through it all, and hopefully it's clear as mud. Please keep posting questions and asking me. If you have anything that you're wondering about, just throw a comment down below here on YouTube, or throw it on the post in Patreon so that I can respond to it, and that's really super helpful. Suzanne just left the nicest comment in chat, and I have to go back and sometimes I don't see stuff as it comes by because the chat moves so quickly. But she says, Unbraided is such an incredible book. It helped me learn to spin multicolored braids more than any other resource. I always recommend it to spinners. Thank you so much. I always turn my phone off, and the one day I didn't turn my phone off, I get a call. I never get a call. Thank you, Suzanne, for saying that. That's very, very kind. She says, no thanks needed. I'm so grateful for that book. Oh, thank you. Hi, Alberto. Good to see you. He just jumped into the stream. You timed it very well, Alberto, because we're just going to start talking about Year of Color. So I have not actually been working on a lot of big stuff. I've been sort of trucking away on my Toothy spin when I have a moment to sit at my wheel quietly and just work on stuff. I've been really consciously taking that time during Maker Morning every month and making sure that I'm working on it, because I can usually get through one bundle during Maker Morning, one of these, which doesn't seem like a lot. Usually I can spin a lot more and a lot quicker, but I'm talking, I'm interacting, I'm letting people in. There's usually things going on. There's a big piece of something in the fiber. And so because of that, I find that I really covet that time when I sort of have that dedicated hour to work on this spin. And I've actually done quite well. I'm down to the last 4 pieces. What is that? Oh no, it's those stupid moths. I'm down to the last 3 bundles from this particular 100 grams that I had. And that'll be the 3rd 100 gram sort of batch that I've got. I bought 6 in total so that I would have lots and lots and lots of fiber, lots of spun yarn for when I finished. My plan was originally to make a coat. And I have ended up pivoting from that for several reasons, mostly because I don't actually think that I would wear said coat a lot. And so I've been looking at the idea of weaving a bigger piece of cloth with the goal in mind of creating a woven cardigan. I would like something that has nice drape to it, that has kind of a knitted feel to it. So not quite like this, as this falls off my shoulders, but not quite like this, but something probably with knitted cuffs and a knitted band that goes around, and possibly with a belt. Again, that's knitted. So I've kind of got these ideas in my head of sort of a cross between not necessarily a formal jacket-like cardigan, but something that's sort of a mix of the two. The casualness of a knitted cardigan, but the slightly more formal feel of a woven piece of fabric. I'm kind of thinking about that. So I do need to do a bunch of sampling. I do have enough yarn spun to sample. I just haven't been able to get to that stage of the game yet. I have not had a chance to work on very much of anything for the entire month of February. And there's lots of reasons for that. It's been a wee bit hectic. It's not been hectic around here. It's been very challenging. So with that, that's kind of the only thing that I'm working on that's like a bigger project. And my pressed flowers is on hold, but I haven't started anything else because I really want to solve the problem that I'm having with pressed flowers. So I've just put it aside for a few minutes, for a few weeks. And I've just been looking at it and sort of thinking about what I want to do with it. So those two projects are sort of in progress. They're happening in the background. I'm hoping that I'll have some progress on them to share with you in the next couple of months. And I'll update you on sort of my thought process around all of that. So that's sort of the stuff that's happening in the background that hasn't changed. However, what I have been working on are all of my samples. So these are the ones that as of last episode I had finished for my year of color sampling. I think this is something, and I talked about this a lot in the last episode, so I'll gloss over it really quickly, but I think this sampling and this kind of rabbit hole that many of us in our community have kind of dove into has been really what I needed. I needed something that was like little quick wins, 2 gram little samples. These are 5 grams, but now I'm spinning 2 grams. They've been just like quick wins that I've really personally needed. And I hear that echoed in the community too. Like I've heard quite a few people say this is exactly what I needed. Like I needed this release from just, you know, doing some of the bigger projects and some of the other stuff. Like this is so much fun. I've heard the word fun used several times, which is really, really fun. So these were the samples that I shared with you last time. So this was my triadic, and I did a sort of a tinting scale, and you can see there's big gaps between each of them there. There needs to be one in between the white and the first color, and there needs to be one between the color and the one that doesn't have any white or black added. There needs to be, like, that needs to be smoothed out and added to, but these were just the initial samples that I'd done. I shared all of these with you last show. So that's where I got up to. So from there, I actually decided to look through what I had done already and then what I wanted to do. So I got a little bit sidetracked. And I won't put the big camera on just yet, but I will show you in a minute what I'm doing. So this is in our community participation slides later. So I will go into more, like I'll show you what it is that I'm working from later, because Rebecca's mom, and Rebecca is in the chat today, so she can answer any questions that you guys might have. But this package that I got from Rebecca's mom, from Linda, is all naturally dyed. So there's all these fibers in here, and I'm not going to go through all these right now because later in community participation, Rebecca has a photo where it's all laid out and you can see all of it. So I won't go into it now, but basically there's 2 color wheels in here, the CMYK and the RYB. So this is kind of the magenta down here. This is the red. This is the blue. This is the yellow for both. And then I'll show you where I started. So what I did was I took it out. It's Coopworth. And like I said, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to community participation. But if you have any questions, throw them into chat because Rebecca can probably answer them. What I did was I took the first color that I sort of was calling to me, if you will, and it was the cyan, quote unquote, which is light blue. The light blue is Saxon Blue Indigo Derivative. That's what this is. And I took the Coopworth, because it's all Coopworth, and I started just lock popping it just to open it up because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Was I going to comb it? Was I going to card it? Was I going to hand card it? I wasn't sure. So I just took the little bundle that Linda had sent me and I just started lock popping it. I just wanted to get it opened up, get all the locks separated, and I created 2 bags of fiber. One that was all the waste that was coming off of the lock pop, only the nice stuff. I pulled out anything that was like really, really, really short and gross or like anything like that. But very gently, I made sure that I kept all of the nice waste, if that makes any sense, because I have a plan for it once I have all the waste from all of the other colors. So I put that aside, not working from that right now. And then I took everything else and I put it, and I just started filling the bag. And after this was all done, I weighed out 2 grams and I spun that. So that's the first color of my naturally dyed color wheel. And I'm just gonna work my way through all of the colors, the yellow, the blue, the red, the magenta, the light blue, i.e. cyan, and sort of see what I come up with. I really wanted to create a naturally dyed color wheel from stuff I had dyed. I have all the colors except for indigo. I just don't have the resources right now to be able to, the brain power, the brain space, the physical space. So when I saw that Rebecca's mom was doing this, she's Color Storms, for those who know who Rebecca's mom is. Color Storms is her business. I thought I am going to remove one of the barriers to being able to accomplish this year and being able to do this. So my goal, and that's kind of already gone out the window, but what I was hoping was I could do a color a week. I don't know if that's going to happen because it's been 2 weeks now and I've only done 1 color, but we're being kind to ourselves and gentle to ourselves, and I will just continue to steadily work on this in the background. So that is the first color. So I'll show you guys. So this is the first one spun up. Is that beautiful? It's gorgeous. So pretty. So this is just a little 2 gram sample, and this is just the light Saxon Blue Indigo Derivative. This is that one. That's the only one that I've done thus far. So I need to do the yellow and the magenta next, and then I can add in the purple, the green, and the orange, and then I'll go through it again, do another 2 gram sample for a second yellow, and then I'll do the red and the blue, and I'll create the second color wheel. I was going to actually do a 12 hue color wheel and do the colors in between the blue and the green, and in between the green and the yellow, and actually add those in. And what I'm actually going to see is whether or not I have enough fiber to be able to do that. So once I've spun the base color wheel, the 6 color wheel, from there, then I'll figure out if I have enough fiber to be able to do a little bit more, because I also really want to do what I did with what I started doing with my other color wheels, my commercially acid dyed color wheels on Corriedale. This is Coopworth. I wanted to also be able to do these complement blends. So this is yellow with purple, red with green, orange with blue, and I wanted to be able to also do those as well. So it'll just be a matter of making sure that I have enough fiber and that I have enough to be able to do everything that I want to do, and making some strategic choices along the way of what I want to focus on, basically. All of these we talked about last show, so that's why I've kind of set them aside. I needed them close by just to be able to explain things and put things in context and whatnot, but that's where we're at so far. Yeah, Suzanne says she loves that blue. Oh my gosh, Christine. She says, what a difference between the lock pop and the flicker when it comes to prepping fiber. Do they do the same thing? So they do the same thing. The flicker, you're holding the locks and you're flicking it on top like that is sort of a tapping motion. Whereas with the lock pop, you've got it underneath and you're actually doing the same motion, but with your fiber on top. We talked about the lock pop in a lot of detail, not last episode, but the episode before. So I think it was 259. It was when I talked about my Kainu Harema spin, the finish wool. I'm pretty sure it was 259. And so maybe go back and have a look, watch through that, because we went into quite a bit of detail. People had some awesome stuff to say in the chat about the lock pot, what they like about it, why they use it so much. The one big difference that I find personally with the lock pop versus the flicker, it's much nicer on my hands. I find the flicker, I often end up with scratches and beating up my fingers a little bit, even though I'm careful, even though you try not to catch your hand, it just inevitably happens. And so I find with the lock pop, it's fast. I can stand at the counter and do it while I'm doing other things. So if the kids are doing something, I can stand there and lock pop. The other thing is that you can do a little bit more fiber all at once because you've got that sort of rectangular pad to work on. And so if you have a lock that's really nicely formed that you would maybe have to split in half for the flicker, on the lock pop I find you can do the whole thing. Rebecca has been putting the show notes at the I've been putting it at the bottom. She's been putting timestamps, so you can all the way back to September of 2022, so like 6 months ago, you can go through the show by timestamps again. I wasn't able to maintain it and keep it going, but she has been so gracious and being able to do that. So yeah, check the timestamps and you'll be able to find it, Christine. Jenny, so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you, friend. I hope you got your voice back. All right, so from there, the lock pop was really, really fun. And then what we've got coming up this month is actually contrast of hue. Do I have my contrast of hue samples? I'll just put them on here. So March, we're looking at contrast of hue. So we introduced the color contrast, like I said, as defined by Johannes Itten. In 1973 was the text. I actually have that textbook from my mom from when she was in art school, which is really cool. And he defines all of the color contrast in there, and it's really helpful because it just lays it out really clearly. Color and Fiber is another really great resource, that book. And of course, our book that we're studying this year, which is Deb Menz's Color in Spinning, goes through all the color contrast. She goes through them very basically, which is really nice. It's very simple. But this month, we're looking specifically at the contrast of hue. So I go through in the March content and I define all of that for you guys and we talk about it. I've got some knit samples that I did up that you'll be able to see in that content. And then of course, these were my skeins. The community participation call for this month has been really cool to see thus far. You know, it's been really fun to see what people have thought of when they think of contrast of hue. I'm hoping that there will be a few people that do some more skeins that show contrast of hue, because I really want to see what you can do in the yarn to demonstrate contrast of hue. So that would be really fun for people to share some of that. So that's been going on in the background, and I've been working on these samples through February, and then all my knit samples. So that I did a couple. So much fun. So those I didn't show to you last time, and those are those ones. So then next, I really fell down a rabbit hole, because in April we've got contrast of value coming up. So I wanted to go back. Excuse me. I wanted to go back and really have a good look at the tinting and shading scales back in January, when I sort of wasn't, I was still waiting for my fiber and waiting for things to get organized. And I wanted to go through and start making my tones and shades and tints scales. So that's what I've been working on. So that's what's really taken the majority of my time for the last couple of weeks. And this is so much fun. So this ended up being a 12-step value scale with white and black. So I started with 100% black, and then I went all the way across to 100% white. And we'll talk about some of the changes that happened as a result, because I had to tweak a couple of things down at the white end down here. These were all 2 gram samples, and because they were all so similar, once they were spun and on the wheel, I couldn't do what I had explained to you guys last time, where I just loaded the bobbin with all the singles, one on top of the other. I couldn't do that. So when I did the first batch of samples, which was these ones, there's only 11 here. And I did the first batch, and I had to do one at a time, because otherwise I couldn't tell which one was which, and which one was 40% and which one was 60% and which one was, like, once you get into the middle there, those middle 5 are very similar. So until you see them next to each other, it's really hard to tell which is which. And so I did, I'd spin one, bracelet ply it off, skein it off. Spin another one, bracelet ply, like, it's very labor intensive, and they're only 2 grams. They go super fast. I could get one done in about 20 minutes, but that's only 3 an hour. So you can see how this isn't like super, super fast. So after I did these first 11, I would love to see if you guys can see it, because it's just a photograph. It's more obvious in real life. But down here at the end where the white is, I went from 100% white to 90% white, 10% black. And that jump was huge. I texted Rebecca and I'm like, I feel like I need another one in between. And she's like, I don't know. If you think you do, you probably do, but I'm not sure. And I was also tempted to throw one between the 90 and the 80. So basically those first 3, it felt like there were some big jumps. And so what I did was I thought, well, I'll do one. I'll put the 95 white, 5 black in between the white and the second one, the first and the second skein, and just see what happens. See if that fixes it. And it did. So then all of a sudden, just adding that one skein between the 90% white, 10% black, and the 100% white, it just created a much smoother gradation across. And actually, Amanda had talked about that with some of her stuff that she's been working with and working on some of her scales, where she's like, oh, had to throw in extra skeins because something didn't work and it didn't transition really super smoothly. So hopefully for the application of the theory to the spinning in April, I'll be able to show some of her photos, because it's remarkable, like the change in how to get this stuff to smoothly gradate across. And I had to do some of this for my Unit 2 for the OHS, for my Ontario Hand Weavers and Spinners Master Weaver. The Unit 2, we had to do a bunch of these chromatic and achromatic scales. So this is an achromatic scale because there's no color, it's only black and white. It's a gray scale. And you can see how it gets tricky making sure that that gradation is really, really smooth. And then try to do that in paint, try to do it in pencil crayon, try to do it with different types of paint, acrylic, watercolor, all that stuff. Oh, see, yeah, Amanda, she's been popping neon pink in between her singles. That's what I've been doing with all of my other samples. But with this one, I was getting them mixed up. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do them one by one, just for this one. Oh my goodness, those value scales are amazing. Thank you so much, Jenny. So this is the final one. This is the 12 sample one. So from there, I felt really inspired, and I didn't get much done, but I started it. I started doing an orange value scale. And the only reason why I chose to do orange next, and rather than doing one of the primaries, was because I love what happens to orange when you add black. It completely changes the color. So this was with, I have it here. This one was with magenta and yellow to make the orange. You can really see it here in this photo. And so, the idea is that I'll also, so this is CMYK color wheel. And then my plan is to also do one that's with RYB color wheel. So the orange tint scale all the way across. And I mean, eventually by the end of the year, I would love to have one that's, a yellow scale and from white all the way to black. A yellow scale, a red one, a blue one, a cyan one, a green one, like, that would be the ideal. I don't know if I'm gonna run out of fiber. These are 4 gram samples, and I wish I had done 2 gram because they're a little bit too big, But you can see here as well, as I've slowly started to put this together, you can see that there are some big jumps. So from the orange, that was 80-20 there on the bottom. So this one has the orange added. The other photo doesn't have the orange, the 100% orange. But you can see the jump between the 80%, so here, this one, bottom one here, the 80% orange and the 20% black to 60% orange, 40% black. You need something in between there. There needs to be a 70-30. So that jump is too big. But it's interesting how you get to the end up here of the scale where the black is, and all of a sudden the jumps aren't that big anymore. The jumps are much, much smaller. So the second to last one there before the black is 20% orange, 80% black. And you could get away with not putting the 90-10 in there. It would make it smoother, a smoother gradation, but if I didn't want to, I wouldn't have to. Like, it's sort of smooth enough. Super, super interesting. I know, Diane, run out of fiber. I know. I know. It's ridiculous. So this is the chromatic value scale. And the other one that we just talked about is the achromatic value scale. So how many chromatic value scales I end up with by the time we get to December, I'm not sure, but I'll just keep working on them. I am going to cut them down to 2 gram samples. These are 4 grams, like I mentioned. It's just too much spinning. You don't need 4 grams to see what you need to see. And I have been carding these up on my drum carder. So I've just been doing 3 or 4 samples on different sections of my drum all at once, and then I can pull them off all at once. So that's the chromatic scale. And then I decided, because I love the complement blends so much, like you guys have no idea. Actually, some of you probably do. Those who like the neutrals, say aye. The neutrals for me are when I start to get like really excited. And as you guys know, my most favorite samples from last week were the ones that were the combinations. I showed them to you guys already. These ones, the combinations of the red and green blended together, and the blue and orange blended together, the yellow and purple blended together. I would love to have a sweater. You guys can laugh at me. It's okay. I go for the same colors over and over and over. This one, yellow and purple. So it's 50% yellow, 25% blue, 25% red, because it was the RYB color wheel. And then if you added like 10% black, I would just be the happiest girl in the world. This just makes my heart sing. I mean, like, I know. You guys can laugh at me. I don't care. So what I decided to do was I started making value scales with the blends. So this one is actually blue and orange. Can you believe it? This is blue and orange. And you can see how, so I added white. So the one at the top here is with, is 50-50 white. The middle one is the blue and orange, the 30-30-30. Oh wait, no, this one is a triadic. I'm so sorry, this one's triadic. You guys are probably like, what is she talking about? This one is triadic. So the middle one is 33-33-33 CYM. So cyan, magenta, and yellow. And then you can see down there I added 50% black, and then I added 50% white. So this was sort of the tint and the shade for this one. And I just, oh my goodness, I love this one so much. So that one's that one. And then let's got them mixed up. Do I have them mixed up? It would not be unusual for me to be mixed up. Yeah, this one is it is the complement. I was right. Okay, so I'm not going crazy. I'm sorry, you guys. It is the complement. So the top one is, hang on. I want to make sure I have this right. I think one of the photos isn't quite correct. I might have to fix it for next show because I'm actually not sure that I have it correct. It's this one. Okay, so this one is the correct one. Yeah, because it's the blue and orange. So this is the blue and orange, the cyan and orange. And so it's 50, so the Yeah, the top one is, I think it's just a little bit blown out. So the top one is the cyan with orange. It's the original one that I showed you guys last time. And then the middle one has a third black, and then the bottom one is 2/3 black. So you can see how it really, really changes. So that one is the blue and orange complement blend that I showed you guys last time. And this is all the CMYK. And then my goal is for next time to have the RYB ones done, because I haven't, the RYB ones are here. I haven't done this with them yet. I just ran out of time. So then next I had the yellow and purple. So this one is my favorite because Have You Met Me? So the yellow and purple at the top is just 33, 33, 30. No, it's 50% yellow, 25% cyan, 25% magenta. So that was the original blend. And then you add black. And you guys are like, oh my goodness, Rachel, you're so ridiculous. I know. So the middle one has a third black, and the bottom one has 2/3 black. And this is why I love yellow so much, because when you add black, it goes olive green. And you guys know how I feel about these colors, and you know that I get very excited about them, and you know that I'm completely ridiculous about Grello. And so this is my new favorite happy place, which you guys know. And so you can just laugh at me, and that's totally fine. So this was my favorite one because Have You Met Me? And then the red and green one, so this is actually magenta and green. This one was really interesting because as you add the black, it almost takes on like a blue hue almost. And so the top one is just your magenta, 50% magenta, 25% yellow, 25% cyan, which we talked about last time. And then the middle is a third black, and this bottom one is 2/3 black. And you can see how it really changes. And you can also see that between the top one and the 1/3 black, you need something in between. To make it smooth, you need something in between. And so I thought that was really, really interesting, where you've got quite a big jump there that wasn't quite so apparent with the other two. But this one, you could really see that it's not as smooth as the other two. This one, the yellow, was the smoothest. And this one was actually quite good as well, the blue and orange. And I think the blue and orange, that one is so gray. I think, would you agree, Amanda, that this would be a chromatic gray? And it's just so neutral. It's so neutral. I love this so much. So yeah, Grello, woohoo, says Jenny. It's her favorite color too. But we're both gingers, so, and we both wear it really well. So I think that's probably part of it. It's one of those things when you have a different hair color, and so much is designed in the fashion textile world for blonde and brunette. When you find a color that you can wear that really works, I think you just naturally tend to gravitate toward it. Because for my whole life, I've always been put in sort of green and brown, which I love, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about Grello, you know, and I think it's one of those colors that most people can't wear well. And I think that's just, yeah, I just love it. And I love that you can change it when you add that black. And it changes again when you add white, and it becomes more pastel and soft and kind of buttercuppy and sunshiny, you know? So you kind of got these two extremes of, like, you know, happy, light, joyful, and then sort of a little bit more moody and a little bit more nuanced, and, you know, it's neat. I love it. Suzanne says the magenta and the green are her favorites, but that won't surprise anyone. Definitely, Suzanne, you love those colors. Christine says she's loving the magenta set. The more silver my hair becomes, the more I am drawn to pink. Yes, because you can wear it beautifully. Oh my gosh, totally, yes. Dion's doing hers on the blending board and really enjoying it. Lisa said, I can sit here all day and look at all the grays. Yes, me too. I love these chromatic grays. Oh my goodness, these chromatic grays. The magenta sets make me scream, Dion says. Yes, I totally agree. So then I had gotten these mixed up earlier, so I'm really sorry about that. But then I did the triadic tint and shade. So instead of doing just a shade, doing the shade side of the scale, I did, for the triadic, this has equal parts magenta, yellow, and cyan in it. And so that's the one in the middle. And then I added 50% white and then 50% black. And again, it's really incredible to see that difference and that change, because you go from this beautiful kind of, you know, sort of as saturated as those colors can be when they're combined together. And then you desaturate it going both ways. But it's interesting that adding white, you get these just beautiful pastels. But going to the black, you start to lose some of the color, and you sort of start to get into that, like, you know, sort of more chromatic gray. And I feel like there's a bigger jump with the black. I feel like there's probably going to need to be, like, to get to, I feel like the change is larger than it is getting to the white, if that makes sense. I feel like there's a bigger gap. And yet you probably would need fewer skeins in between to bridge that gap and to make that, because the black just shades so beautifully. So it'd be interesting to see this built out a bit and see the triadics kind of all the way across from white all the way to the black and see that whole scale. So, you know, if I have time, I'll do it. It's fun to see these in person. It's one thing to see them photographed and on the Slack channel and in the Ravelry group. Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing them. It's just awesome to see them. It's another thing to see it in person and to do it yourself. So if you see things that people are doing and that people are making, like whether it's a color wheel and that's where you decide to stop, or some of these blends and that's where you decide to stop, making some of the tinting scales or some of the shading scales, whatever you decide feels right for you. And then stop where you sort of feel like you've learned what you want to learn, but definitely do at least a little bit. Do something just to see this in person. I would highly recommend that everyone do the color wheel. At least one, just to see it. You only have to do 6 if you don't want to do 12, or if you don't want to do a bigger color wheel. Like, you don't have to do a massive color wheel. You know, just do 6. Do RYG Biv. You know, Roy G Biv, ROYGBIV. You know, and just do the basic color wheel. Here's the CMYK. The black isn't there because I moved it to another thing, but that's CMYK there. I would put the black here to finish that color wheel. And like, honestly, that's all you have to do. And then you can see it, right? And then you can go from there and be inspired and decide what you want to do. Being consistent in the number of times through the carder, passes on the hand card, etc. Oh, where did that go, Dorothy? I was going to answer that question. Dorothy, don't delete it. I have tried to be very consistent with the number of times I put it through the carder, just so that everything is the same. So this is the same as my value scale, is the same as my complement scale, is the same. So I've been putting it through the same number of times, which is about 3. So I put it through the first time just to get it started. The second time is to get it a little bit blended. The third time is to create a really nice prep. So when it goes through the drum carder the third time, as I'm taking it off, I'm gently pre-drafting it as I go, because I'm ending up with just little slivers of fiber. And so as I take it off, I'm adding a little bit of a twist just so that it doesn't all fall apart. Because they're only 2 gram samples. They're just tiny. Because yeah, you're right, Dorothy, it will skew if you don't blend them a certain way. You know, it'll end up like the contrast of value that I did, which I talk about in March's content. You know, if you blend them a different number of times, you're going to end up with different yarns. And so what I've been trying to do with all of my samples, other than these ones, is blend them the same number of times. So, and that way I'm comparing apples to apples. Because the thing is like, I do tend to like a certain aesthetic in all of my yarns anyways. Like, if I was going to pull one of my little samples out of here and say, yeah, I'm going to make a sweater out of that. I'm going to pick this one and I'm going to do a sweater out of it. I want this to be relatively even and to the degree of blendedness that I would like in the first place, so that when I look at it, I know that, you know, this is what I'm going for and this is what I'm looking for. I think that's really helpful. So yeah. Yes, totally, Dorothy. I really appreciate that. Making the point that the small difference in blending can make a big difference in the final result. And you see that in this month's content when you guys go to download that, when it's available a little bit later in the month. So that is what I've been working with color, Year of Color. I feel like this is just going to keep on going and going and going, and we're just going to keep going with these samples and with all of this stuff with the Year of Color, because This is such a great place for us to be able to talk about it, and everybody's so fired up about it and so excited about it that I feel like even if you're kind of watching from the sidelines and not necessarily participating yourself, at least there's an opportunity for you to see kind of how things are evolving and how things are being made. So yeah, super fun. Christine says, I can see the Love Note sweater in that lighter magenta scale. Yes, totally. This one here. Absolutely. Some of these colors carded up, and if you blended them, you know, through with like the Love Note, you know, that one's a perfect example where you're holding multiple fibers together, so multiple yarns. Instead of holding a second yarn that's your silk mohair or holding multiple strands together from your stash, if you wanted to just, you know, spin the yarn and blend it up on, say, your drum carder, you could take all of the different colors that you needed to create this blend, throw your mohair in there, throw your wool in there, throw whatever else you want in there, a little bit of silk for sheen, a little bit of sparkle, whatever you want, and create that color that you want for your Love Note, spin it all up and knit. I mean, you're just gonna have just a phenomenal sweater. And the nice thing with Love Note, it's not a ton of knitting. It's not like a massively knit intensive sweater. It calls for bigger needles, bigger yarn. You can spin a little bit thicker. You can get exactly the color that you want with all the fibers that you need. I mean, win, win, win. It's fantastic. So we're going to pivot a little bit now because I am looking at the time and we're going to be here until 4 o'clock this afternoon if I don't get a move on, because I could talk about Year of Color all day. I pulled something off my loom. I know. Amazing. So these are my Christmas Crackle towels. So we're going to talk a little bit about weaving for a few minutes. I have not recorded a Welford Weaves in quite a long time. The last episode was in December, and the reason is just been, we hit the ground running in January and we have not stopped. So these last two on the warp were Crackle woven as twill. So these were just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The other one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, so a point twill. And then these ones were woven as overshot. And I just was playing, I did a little bit of classic Crackle where you've got 3 shuttle, it's a 3 shuttle weave. And these are my favorite ones, these ones here, the light green and the dark green. I love those ones, I'm keeping those. And then I was just playing with color and weave basically and using different techniques. So this is the one that was the point twill, and you can see you get that beautiful patterning. It's quite a bit faster obviously than weaving as overshot or weaving as classic Crackle. And then in the middle, this one was woven 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So super, super easy to keep track of. You're just weaving twill, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, super, super easy. This here though, I blitz past it as I pull it off the loom, but not this, but what was just above there where that tape is. I actually was getting sick of weaving on this warp. I was kind of burned out. I've pulled a total of, I think, 10 or 11 towels off of this warp because I kept cutting them off because I needed them for gifts at Christmas time. I talked about it in the last episode of Welford Weaves at Christmas time, episode 13, if you want to go back. And the thing that happened with this was I wanted the opportunity to weave Crackle a whole bunch of different ways because you can weave Crackle a lot of different ways. And so I did some sampling with weaving it as summer and winter. I wove it as twill. I wove it as lace. There was a couple of different things that I did there. So that's actually why these aren't finished, is because those samples there on that part of the warp, I need to cut that out, write down what I did, make sure I have everything, you know, documented, and then I can put it through the wash. So they're just waiting. There hopefully will be a Welford Weaves episode coming up at some point, probably in April, about these towels and just finishing them off. So that's what I pulled off the loom, and this was really fun to do. I'm glad I did this project. This pattern is available. The link is in the show notes down below. I put it in for you guys. And if it's not there and I've actually forgotten, I only thought about it or dreamed about it, I will make sure that it's there. But it's for patrons. It's this Christmas tea towel Crackle pattern. You don't have to do it in Christmas colors. Do it in anything you want. Is available on Patreon for everybody. It was kind of my Christmas present to all of you guys. So it's there. Charlotte actually put these on her her loom. I think she's got them, she's either finished them or she's working on them, which is really cool. So really fun, just kind of a flying geese type pattern, super simple. A nice introduction to Crackle if you've never done it, and you can weave it as classic Crackle or you can weave it as overshot. I give instructions for both. So that was a gift for you guys on Patreon. So just follow the link down below. The other thing that I got started on is something that's been sitting on my 16 shaft Ashford table loom for a few months now because I warped it over Christmas time and then I kind of left it. I did some sampling. I talked about that in January on one of the first episodes in January. I feel like it was episode 258, but I might be wrong. It might be 259. Was my M's and W's. So I have actually started the actual weaving now. So it's hard to see in places because this is my hand spun, spindle spun CORMO. And I dyed the warp. I talked about this back at the beginning of the year. I did my samples. I showed them to you on the show. And I've actually been able to start weaving now. So when you look, some of the places it doesn't look quite right, but when you're actually down above the loom and you're looking at it in real life, it is correct. It just, I think there's areas of the hand spun, they're a little bit thinner and there's areas that are a little bit thicker, and it's just kind of, there's some areas that are sort of not quite right. And there's one area where I went through one chart repeat too far and I was like, should I unweave it? Should I stop? Should I go back? And I decided to punt and keep on going. So I've actually woven 15 inches now to date. It's super fast. I haven't had any major hiccups with this. The CORMO's been great on the loom. I haven't been pulling the warp really super tightly. And the nice thing when you're weaving with wool is you're really just placing the weft. So you're not beating really hard like you do with cotton, or, you know, I'm not beating on a closed shed. It's just very gentle, pulling it into place, beat, change, and then go to your next weft. And so it's just been really fast. This is M's and W's, and this is going to be a finished stole. So I naturally dyed the warp after I had warped it, naturally dyed it in marigold, and then I left the weft as white so that you could see the M's and W's patterning after it's off the loom and finished. This will be very, very lightly finished. And oh, that's so funny that there's music.
Right, Mommy?
There we go. Sorry. Thank you, Diane, for saying something. I stopped it. So this will be very lightly finished afterwards so that I don't completely lose all of the texture and all of the patterning that's going on underneath. So that was something that I was thinking about when I was working on this. So yeah, thank you, Dion. She says it's really pretty. Thank you. I appreciate that. So those two things are happening in the background. The M's and W's stole is 21 ends per inch, 21 picks per inch. I had originally figured I would either go with 22 or 20. Slaying ended up working out beautifully at 21 because of the reed that I had, and I thought, you know what? I'll just stick with the 21. It's the best of both worlds. I do too, Charlotte. I like the low contrast. I like the subtlety of it, that you have to actually look at the fabric. And I was actually really inspired by a scarf that Diana showed me at Guild one night that I sort of thought, oh, I wonder. And we had done a sheep to shawl that was very similar. And I just thought, So after those overshot scarves that I had done from the Jane Stafford online guild, I thought, you know, I'm going to put this thing on and just see what happens. So it is my spindle spun 2-ply CORMO. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turning out. So that is that. All right, let me see if I can queue up our community participation because it's getting late. It's well after the time. And that is okay. You guys are so gracious. So let me go back to chat because I always lose chat when I go to the PowerPoint. And I'm not sure this is going to work, but if it does, then I will see you on the other side. I'm starting to lose my voice, so we're gonna have to move through this relatively quickly. So, community participation, this was really fun. I actually put together a couple of things for you guys that were actually the year of color that you guys are working on. So this shouldn't overlap with anything that Rebecca's gonna show you on the next episode of the Wool Circle, but I did wanna share a few things that people were working on that it's just kind of going on in the background that people are kind of trucking along with and just kind of working on. Dion says, I just love all the excitement about the year of color. Thank you for saying that, Dion, because I think this has inadvertently been exactly what I needed, because I don't have any really massive projects that I feel like I have the bandwidth to get into right now. Like, I just don't feel like I have the the bandwidth to be able to really get into a really big project, get into a really big spin, commit to it, do the thing. And yet these small skeins have actually ended up being projects in and of themselves. Like, the value scale is a project. And I feel like a lot of people have been really just excited to work on something together. You know, that feeling of community, that feeling of togetherness, that feeling of coming together. It's just like what happened with 51 Yarns. Even though people didn't necessarily always participate and spin the yarns, they were all working on it at their own pace, and it was something that just kind of bonded us all together. So once we're finished the year of color and we've kind of exhausted everything, it would be nice for people, if you have any ideas, you can just DM me or DM Rebecca with any ideas about like future books you might want to look at, book studies. I'm always happy to do a book study, because then we're supporting the authors that write said books. Yeah, anything that you guys think that we could do sort of our next deep dive into, that we could do as a community that would work really well. You know, looking at theory, looking at something that's theory and practical spinning. If you guys want to do a big along and we can go through all of the sampling and all of the stuff that goes with creating said thing, you know, what that looks like when you're working with your handspun and you want to do a really big project. I'm open to ideas. You guys know that I'm very nimble and willing to pivot and do lots of different stuff. So just let me know. All right. So this is from Rebecca. This is what I was talking about what her mom was putting together for the naturally dyed sampler for you guys. So if you are interested, talk to Rebecca or go directly to Linda, Color Storms. What is her website, Rebecca? Can you post that in the chat if you have a minute? So these are the colors that I'm working from. So as we discussed natural colors in the live chat on Monday, I've been chatting with my mom. I just ordered this from her, all Coopworth. And yeah, she's putting together kits. So if you look on her website, there's a kit. So there's the Coopworth, and then there's other fibers as well. So you can get the big kit with all of the fibers. And yeah, they're just beautiful colors, beautiful. So that I only did the Coopworth just because I've got too much to spin and there's just not enough time. But you can order like the bigger kit and it's pretty incredible. So if you've kind of been on the fence and you're kind of thinking that you want to jump in and you'd like to do something with natural dyes, this might be an option. This is from Dion. So this isn't spinning, but this is an exercise that Rebecca put everyone through on the wool circle. And I never really showed any of the photos. And some of these Rebecca had shown on the wool circle or is going to show on the wool circle. But I just thought some of these were just so beautiful that I wanted to share them here as well. So Dion's been playing with her watercolor mixing. She used magenta, cobalt blue, and soft cream. Is that rutile yellow? The yellow is close to a Corriedale color catkin. For my colored pencils, I did an optical blend and a blend using zest, which caused the colors to meld together. Beautiful. Love this. Yeah. Thought this was just beautiful. I love her watercolor wheel. Oh, beautiful, Dion. Beautiful, as always. Yeah. This is from Mary Jo. Here's what I found I needed to add to my fiber kit to make some decent greens. So I added cyan so I could make nice greens, but you can see in the first picture the red and cyan cut fiber I blended on the cards make a muddy purple. The second picture shows the samples I made with my primaries in cyan. So at the bottom is the primaries, secondaries on the wooden dowel, which is very primary. Like that's sort of what we think of as like the painter's palette, RYB. The green on the bottom row is much more what I would call a true green compared to the green that I made with the royal blue and the yellow in her previous post. This is all on, I think she posted on Ravelry as well, or it is from Ravelry, but this is also on Slack. So multiple places for you guys to find things and engage with people. The third from the bottom I blended with gray to make tones. That's my favorite. I love that stick. It's the second from the top there. The top one is the shades, and then the second from the bottom is of course her tints. But isn't that incredible? I love that her and Florence have put this stuff on dowels, or they've put them on old straight knitting needles, because you can really see the colors. I personally have been using from the dollar store. I had a whole bunch of shower curtain rings, and that's what I've been using to organize my samples. And I found that I had to switch to the bigger ones that I had from, they were just like I had them from our apartment. Actually, I had kept them all these years, because then the skeins, I can really lay them out and I can really see them. But any shower curtain rings will work beautifully. And the sticks and the dowels, great way to photograph. All right, so that's some of your color. I would love to have shared more, but I knew that this episode today was going to be incredibly long, and I kept it short. So next time I'll try and throw in some more year of color stuff for you guys, so you guys can see what people in the community are working on, because there is a ton. So this is really fun. I'm excited to share this with you guys. I pulled this off of Rebecca's blog because I had to share this. If you guys remember, this is where, when she took over the Wool Circle back in September, this is where some of the stuff that she was starting with. So it wasn't like those very first episodes, but it was like within the first half dozen. So it was like the third, fourth, I want to say maybe the fifth episode. And this was that coveted fiber that she was so scared to spin, that she'd been hanging on to, and so on and so forth. And she tried to figure out how to spin it, and she asked Katrina, and Katrina told her what she would do. And so this is what Rebecca came up with. And I hope that, honestly, Rebecca, I hope you do something that's mosaic knitting, because those sample swatches that are in the bottom right-hand corner, there's the cabled ones. She was pattern swatching for Kate Davies, a cowl that Kate Davies had done. But when Rebecca showed the one that's the grid, that's all the little squares, that's mosaically knit, she lit up. And she got super excited, and she was just glowing. And so I hope, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, that she maybe looks at like the shifty cowl, or I don't know if she has yardage to do the sweater or the night shift, but not the night shift changing with multiple skeins, just the night shift using these two skeins. So she would switch back and forth just using these yarns, because the night shift is bigger, so she would use more yardage. She just lit right up on that episode, and everybody commented on it. It was like, Rebecca, that's what you need to do. So I'm really curious to see what she ends up doing with this, because honestly, Rebecca, dust your shoulders off. You nailed this spin. So well done. So much fun to celebrate somebody when they're, been humming and hawing about something and feeling a little bit intimidated by something for a while, and then they do this. I mean, oh, you guys, incredible. C'est incroyable. All right, this is from Micah. First major completed handspun project. Amazing. The yarn is Hill Radnor. So that was our breed and color study last year, was on Hill Radnor. Worsted spun to a bulky, possibly super bulky weight. I knit this in about 2 days, and I loved knitting through the gradient. It is beautiful, and what a great use to be able to see that in a mitten. Like, it's so much fun. As per usual for me, I discarded all the patterns I had collected, and I just winged it, which meant casting on and frogging something like 8 or 9 times before being completely satisfied. With such a thick yarn, it was hardly an ordeal. When I ran out of the first singles, when plying for a 3-ply, I finished out with the remaining singles as a 2-ply. Since I knit from the top down, the cuff was the final piece that I made, and I used a 2-ply to knit the cuff, the little inner stretch of stockinette for the folded edge, and then tacked the live stitches down. It is absolutely beautiful. So pleased to finally have a handspun finished object, especially one that is both practical and sorely needed. Amazing. Beautiful. Dion says about Rebecca's thing. Yes, she was taunting us with this fiber for weeks. Yes, she was. It was incredible. This is from Martha. Oh my goodness, you guys, how cute is Martha? Is she still here? She was here. I hope she's still here. It's so much fun, Martha, to be able to celebrate you. I finished my second ever handspun sweater, which is, of course, the Weekender Light. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. If you guys haven't seen this, it's one of her probably most like well-known, famous knit patterns, probably this one and the Weekender. I could sit here and point out all the bits of my spinning that didn't go as planned with this project, but I love the results so much that I can see past them. Win, that is a win. Basically, I didn't spin it all at the same time, and the results were a few skeins varied in thickness. That is okay, because guess what? The knitting hides it. It's incredible. Fiber was a gray tweedy top from World of Wool. Incredible, Martha. Just absolutely beautiful. It looks awesome on you. You can see how chuffed she is. She's so cute. Oh, amazing. This is from Christina. This is such an incredible skein of yarn. Look at that twist angle. Look at the color. It is just beautiful. It's such a nice feeling having more than finished yarn get engaged and then having the knitting part go well so far. This is a 3-ply sport weight Corriedale, which after months, maybe years of requests for a handspun garment, I found the perfect pattern and finally cast on a vest for my partner. I'm finding it really enjoyable and hard to put down. This is incredible. I love the color that you dyed this after you're working from that fleece. Just, oh, beautiful, Christina. And that yarn, that twist angle, this is why I love 3-ply. Like, look at the roundness of that yarn, and then look at that knitted, the beginning of the vest. Like, oh, it's incredible. This is a 3-ply that I spun. It's Cheviot, and there's a reason why we go back to them again and again and again. 3-ply for the win when it comes to a garment. Incredible. I should say, because I will get questions, this is Gentle Morning by Trin Annalie. I knit it in 3-ply Cheviot. Katrina dyed it for me after I had spun the white wool, and it's in the lightest, the color that she dyed it was just to take the stark whiteness out of the Cheviot. So the color that I chose was like, I want to say it was like Stormbreaker or something like that. It was a really, really, really light, pale, really pale blue. And it was just like a gray blue, the lightest possible shade, tint. Look at me saying the right thing. In the past, I would have said shade, but it's not a shade, it's a tint. Yeah. All these things that we're learning. So this is from Crystal. I'll be in the spring issue. Mine actually just came yesterday of Ply Magazine. It's the science issue. My article will be all about how to add Morse code to your yarn. Some of you have seen a version of this yarn before, but the one I spun for Ply was a true labor of love, and I'm quite proud of it. Congratulations, Crystal. She was in Maker Morning one morning, and it was right after she had had quite a major loss in her family, and we were sort of talking and, sending her lots of love, and she started talking about the Morse code yarn, and she had spun it during Spin Together back in the fall. Is that right, Crystal? I might be wrong about that, but anyways, she was really excited about it, and then she mentioned about the Ply Magazine article. So always excited to celebrate those in our community that end up having issues in Ply Magazine. So congratulations. We've had quite a few in our community. I'm gonna miss people, but like Diana Twist, Rebecca Roy, Becca, who runs book club, Crystal, Diane Barrows. There's been like quite a number of people. It's really, really fantastic. So well done. This is from Dion. So this is part of our stash down. And I said a couple of episodes ago that I would share with you guys what I am working on in terms of stashing down and getting on top of all of my stuff, and sharing with you my new organization for my stash and how I've all organized it. The problem is everything is like ripped apart in our room. So there's like not a great way for me to take a photo to be able to really share that with you. So once Rebecca is home and after her visit and stuff, we'll really get into some of this stash down talk that quite a few people are very interested in having. But I thought this was a great place to sort of start. Dion, last month for February, she's been going through her treasure chest of all of her fiber, and she's been earmarking projects and getting stuff spun up that she's been wanting to do for a while but hasn't quite gotten to it. So this was her February yarn. I'm happy to say that I got them all done with 3 days to rest or play with whatever, because now she's got her March stuff to do. The total weight is 22 ounces, 642 grams. This month I want to use the middle three in a weaving project, which is really exciting. I may even check my handspun stash and see if anything else will work with them. I love that blue. It is beautiful. And I think that is singles, if my memory serves, because she was sharing about it in Maker Morning. So yeah, look at that magenta. Suzanne's probably drooling over it. It's just awesome to see all this color. This is from Sarah. She just posted this a couple weeks ago on the Slack channel. It's so much fun to see this out in the wild now. She finished The Farmhouse by Amy Christoffers. I love it, and was such a great pattern to knit. Purple isn't usually my go-to color, but I'm trying to add variety to my wardrobe. I don't know, Sarah, it's a great color on you. What a great sweater. I actually do wear mine quite a lot. I haven't worn it like when I'm recording and doing the podcast, but I actually wear mine a lot. Kelly had said that I probably would. She wears hers all the time. And I knit it because I was inspired by Kelly's version. And I wear it a lot. I'm quite pleased. Thank you, you guys, for sharing everything you do. And thank you for just being you and for being so supportive of one another and for just being really positive and supportive of one another. I really appreciate it. So awesome. So awesome. So we've had a very long show today. We've gone way over time. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks. I will see you back here, same time, same place on March 21st for another live stream. Hopefully I'll have some more samples to share with you for the Year of Color. Hopefully I'll have like a whole bunch more rings of things and more value scales to show you, and tinting scales and tonal scales and all the things. So that'll be really fun. Don't forget, on the last Tuesday of the month, I think that's the 28th. It is. It's the day before Nora's birthday. We will have the Spinning Pearls premiere. So that will be the second part of the teaching content for the month. You do not need to be a patron to watch that and to attend, and you can always ask questions at that time as well. So that's a great place to really get into some of the nuances around the Year of Color and some of the things that we're talking about in terms of theory. So the part 2 of Spinning Pearls is always about like the application. So we've done the theory, we've talked about the theory, now it's time to like, how do we apply it? So it's very practical and lots of community participation, which is awesome. I love sharing that. So have a wonderful couple of weeks. I hope that it's sunny wherever you are, maybe starting to warm up, maybe we're starting to see a bit of spring, maybe, we'll see. And until then, happy spinning, happy knitting, happy making, happy weaving, all the things. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.